for you personally, like you kind of mentioned it when the talk about people kind of attacking you. Like a lot of people, they would say Imam Suhaib before is not the Imam Suhaib now. Imam Suhaib before was this hardcore guy, and now Imam Suhaib is like pro-gay gay marriage, right? So you have all these, things that are being, said about you. But as you said, you have to negotiate that space. So what would you say to people who say you've changed and now you're so, you're liberal or you're pro-gay marriage or you're all these other things?
Wow, you're just gonna start off like that, huh? I see some people like, if you love to see your brother fall, you're a hypocrite. Yeah. If you love to see a Muslim fail more than you love to see them succeed, you need to check yourself. I never said gay marriage was halal. I was misquoted in the Boston Globe. If those people who asked me would have contacted me, I would have told them, but they never contacted me. The email that's attributed to me, I never sent that email. So I'll be the first to tell you that, of course, homosexuality is haram. You heard me say it? You heard me say it. What I did say is that in America now, constitutionally, marriage between gay people is recognized. That's all I said. That's a fact. It's a historical fact. Yeah, it's a historical fact. It wasn't like I was saying, now everybody do that. I didn't say that. And then I said, when it comes to some of the rights that we are negotiating in America, America is very different than Europe, and especially England. We're under tremendous pressure as a community. Every city in America, there's a lawsuit to stop a mosque from being built, right? And that freedom that is given to us as a community to build that mosque is tied into the same argument that allows people who are gay to be married. So that's all I said. As far as changing, I hope I would have changed. It's been 23 years since I converted. I hope I'm still not the same person. I believe that life is a life of transition. Malcolm X said one of the things he loved about people is that they can change. And I think on certain issues, I'm certainly much more thoughtful, maybe more conservative, and maybe more liberal. Those are very loaded terms. But I think age and kids teach you to be thoughtful. And learning and studying. I think in the beginning, what you had coming to England was a very passionate convert who is an idiot, right? So all that passion and all that, without any real intellectual grit. And that would be the third thing I would ask those people is, then what does an investment in a Muslim education? I studied for 17 years. I memorized the Quran, alhamdulillah. I studied with a Senegalese teacher, gave me ijazah. Sheikh Akram is the first person I visit when I come to England. Sheikh Abdurrahman Katani. Sheikh, although Ali Juma, I'm set with him, right? I'm extremely at odds with him, was my teacher in Usul al-Fiqh. Sheikh Ahmad Taharayan. None of my teachers came out and said these things about me. So I would say that we need to be it hurt me. As a convert, you're my family. You have to realize that as a convert imam, you're my family. So when I'm getting hit on about things that I never said or never did, or why aren't you like you used to be? Well, I'm not like I used to be. Right? You stub your toe once, my grandma said, don't stub it again. Right? You burn your hand on a pot, don't burn it again. You learn and you appreciate. And I think one of the challenges of our religious brothers and sisters is they may learn, but they don't learn people. And I learned a lot being an imam in Boston. The second day in the mosque in Boston, I have a young Arab boy walk into my mosque, into my office. I'm still putting up books, right? And I'm still in the honeymoon phase, man. The honeymoon phase, everything's good, And he says to me, he's white as a sheet. He said, "Indi mushkila." And I said, what? He said, I was just raped in the YMCA by a man. I was forcibly sodomized. And he's shaking. And as an Arab man, the idea of bravado and machismo has all been now, he's thinking about his future. So that was the first day. First day in Boston, I had a death, a shahada, and the second day I had that. So I would encourage people, man, get out and work with the people, right? Humanize some of your expectations. The Prophet walked in the market for a reason. Yamshuna fil aswaq. So definitely I changed. Some issues I'm more conservative, and some issues I'm perhaps much more easygoing. I was in Azhar. I came back once to America, and this lady came to me and she said, you need to speak on women's issues. I said to her, if I speak on women's issues the way I know, you're going to hate me. Right? I haven't mastered the language of gender in the transmodern world. And if I speak in it with your language, my colleagues, the Jedi Knights, they're going to get mad at me. So she said, what do you want me to do? I said, well, can you conduct a course for imams? You know how to perhaps use language which is a little bit more responsible. Same thing on race. When I see an imam write saying, all these people in Black Lives Matter are evil. You know, just be quiet. But when you have a community that's pushing you to speak, either you have to be honest and say, I don't know how to speak on this issue. Can someone come in and help me speak on this issue? Presidents do that all the time, right? These people are gifted in political science. And number two is when we're about to speak on something, perhaps subjecting it to peer review and having people that are qualified understand it. Most of the imams I know speak on these issues. A lot of times they're scared to because, you know, kill me if I do, kill me if I don't. I'm vocal about Black Lives Matter because as a white American man, I have tremendous privilege. So my responsibility is to own that privilege, to be Moses in the house of Pharaoh. Same with women. I was asked 2 weeks ago in Manhattan, you know, how do you not mansplain? I just shut up. In my mosque in Boston, any fiqh issue that was open for discussion, the women voted on to have a wall or not. That was a vote. I told them I'm pro-choice. And they voted. The sisters voted, and half of the mosque has a wall, half the mosque doesn't have a wall. I said, look, I'm not here to impose as a man what you do. I can facilitate. And even that's an act of power, but it's my job, unfortunately. On the Afia issue, I was deeply hurt by that because it's just not true. It never happened. No one took the time to ask me, did it happen? When in Islam are we allowed to just put something online and we all believe it? Like if I wrote an article and I said, you know, I saw this brother, you know, on Tinder last night. Everybody will believe it? And then they'll just start writing him on Twitter, Astaghfirullah brother, Audubillah brother. Then people ask me, then why would people say about these things about you? Because you may not understand how much the Islamophobes hate me in America. How much money they put in to discredit me. First with the non-Muslim community, and then with the Muslim community. But what happened on the night with Sister Afia? Number one is I came to the mosque. It's my mosque. I'm the imam of the mosque. There's a program happening. And the people who put that program together, a black mosque, local black community, came to me and said, someone has spoken without your permission. I'm the imam of the masjid. You don't speak in the masjid of the imam without his permission. That's a problem. No one talked about that in all the books of fiqh. You don't just grab the mic and start spitting, right? You need to ask the DJ to play a beat for you. It's just how it works. So I walked in, I saw Brother Maurice Salakhan, who I have a tremendous respect for. I bought his books that he wrote about Afia. I've been public in the past about what she's gone through. And after he finished, he left. I was there with Imam Suhaib Webb, Imam Farouk Abdullah, Imam Ibrahim Rahim. A man came to me and said, we need you to go up there, his name was Yusuf, and correct what was said. I don't know what was said. But I do know that the mosque that I'm in is a non-profit, tax-exempt institution that cannot speak on political issues. So all I said was, the mosque distanced itself from any of the political positions. I found out later on, outside, he was removed by people in the mosque. Wallahi al-azim, I had nothing to do with that. I didn't know about it. Imam Siraj didn't say that happened. Imam Farouk Abdullah wrote an article addressing the article that came out. And unfortunately, just like with Sheikh bin Baz, I lied about Sheikh bin Baz. I put the fatwa out of Sheikh bin Baz in Arabic. The people who wrote those articles about me, why didn't they go and publish that if they're so interested in the truth? And with Mari, I love him. I met him and I said, you made a mistake. I met him in his face. I said, you made a mistake. But that didn't happen. I would never do that to someone like her who has suffered in the way she suffered. But what hurt more is that, especially my British brothers and sisters, y'all just believed it, man. I mean, is it that easy to knock down a leader or a content provider or a student? I'm just a student. Like, is it that easy for us to believe evil about each other? That's like me saying, you still slap your wife? I come to a restaurant, I see you, hey man, you still slapping your wife? What? Yeah, I heard you slapped your wife last night upside her head. You still beat your husband? What? Yeah, I heard last night you took the chicken makni and poured it on him. Right? But for some reason, and this is the sad thing, the most religious, scrupulous people were the ones who bit that. What happened to in ja'akum? If any information comes to you, you have to listen to both sides, at least make sure it's true. And I'm not going to respond to someone that's like on Twitter like, you sell out son of a bastard, did you say this? I'm not going to respond to that. Oh, well, it's nice to meet you. How you doing? Right? Ahlu bid'ah and dalal, did you? What happened to, wallahi brother, I heard something about you, I hope it's not true. And then we ask the question. Instead of, I believe it, but I'm just asking you anyways. Yeah. And again, when it comes to even the article on the reasons to avoid me, who wrote that article? When is it allowed to have jarh? When the jarh is majhul. It's not allowed in the usul of sharia for there to be a critic without the critic being known. Right? That's secret evidence. Right? That's a Patriot Act. Right? So yeah. So I think that imams need to be taught. Sometimes sisters, I know sometimes our sisters very invested in women's causes. Sometimes our brothers don't know how to speak, right? The Black Lives Matter issue I gave as an example. Even Palestine, like I called you before, I was like, I don't really understand how to talk about this from a BDS perspective. Because I believe BDS is really something we have, I think it's fardu ain to support BDS. And you sent me all this information and, I think there has to be those partnerships.